everyone, I am your astrologer, Wonder Girl, taking you to new heights. And today, what I'm going to be talking about is the full moon in Taurus happening on Wednesday, October 24th. And I have this chart set for 9:45 a.m. Pacific time, which is what, 12:45 p.m. noon Eastern time? So that's what I'm going to talk about today, to just give you a little bit of an update on that. I am still doing readings, or I've started doing readings again. So if any of you would like a reading from me, if you've been waiting for a reading but haven't known if I'm available or when I'm available or whatnot, I am doing readings. Please book some time with me if you want, and we can talk about your chart. I'll put a link down below in the description box for you to find that. I do have a new 30-minute reading option available, which is great for quick answers a lot of times. And if you want to focus in on one or two issues that are super important to you, we can knock those out in the 30-minute reading, which is super nice. Also, if any of you are looking for a personal astrologer, if you want to meet with me regularly once a week for about an hour to talk about some things, either you can come to me with topics that you're interested in learning about, or I can plan some things for each of our meetings that I feel like will be really helpful for you. Either is fine. But I am doing that. If you're interested in having me be your personal astrologer and meeting with me regularly, also please check that out down below at the link in your description box. I just feel like it's so important, especially with astrology, to not have it be a commodity, to not have it just be one and done, but to spend a lot of time sitting more with the chart, talking to you, and going into more detail about some things and exploring some different options. And I feel like the personal astrologer and meeting regularly is the best way to do that. So if you're interested, check it out below. Now, for the full moon happening, it's going to be a big one. All right, what we've got going on, just so that you can see it and place it on the chart, is this moon is actually going to be right here in the sign of Taurus. What makes the full moon a full moon is that it will be opposite the sun. That's what makes a full moon, when the sun and moon are opposite. This one is unique, very extremely unique, huge, major, because not only is this just a full moon, but this moon is conjunct Uranus, which has not been in Taurus for literally years. Not only is it conjunct Uranus, which also doesn't happen, moons don't always happen on significant planets, the sun here is conjunct Venus, which is going retrograde. Not only that, but these four planets are all in a square with the nodal axis, which just moved back to the very first degree of Leo, which it is also not always in, which is also major when planets are at the 1st and 0 degrees of a sign, which also happens to be where the sun is, where the moon is, where Uranus is, where Venus. These are all at the 1st degrees of signs, which makes it super, super important, which makes this full moon super potent, huge, with a lot of the things that I just mentioned. Again, making it very rare, bringing up really big events in our life that we need in order to kind of fix our life, change our life, turn it around for the better, with a lot of these things, okay? I think, to me, what I would say would bring the major turning points that this full moon can bring to fix our life is definitely this square to the nodes, okay? I know I've had quite a few people talk to me about the significance, or mention in the comments, what is the significance of the nodal axis? The nodal axis indicates our destiny in life. The south node, which always directly opposes the north node, indicates a past life or an early life, things that we do naturally, but that if we continue to do, will stop our growth. The north node are things that don't come naturally to us, that are foreign, that we don't know, but that are key to our success and our forward movement in life, and that we need to learn and to accumulate more of. And when planets square the nodal axis, which is what both sides of this full moon is doing, it triggers our karmic lessons. It triggers our destiny here. And it says, look, are you going to forever stay back in the past and things that you feel safe and you feel comfortable in, that you've always done? Or are you going to move forward into the future and do things that you don't know how to do, that you've never done before, that are uncomfortable, but that you know you need to go in order to progress and advance in this lifetime? And so I do believe whenever planets square the nodes, we're at a major turning point where we do have to make choices, we do have to make decisions, where there's a chance to fall back into the past and there's a chance to move forward. And so I think that's what we're trying to figure out this full moon. Do I think that all of a sudden the choices and the turning points that we're having are something new? It's possible that some of this stuff could be very unexpected that you did not see coming. But with Venus being in an opposition with Uranus for so long, with Venus being retrograde playing a major factor at this time, I think a lot of the turning points that we are facing at this full moon are not just like, oh, this random thing came up. Am I going to choose to do this or am I going to choose to not? I think the choices that we're going to have to make at this full moon are things we've been trying to work out at least for months, at least for months, possibly even years. I think these are all things we've been trying to work out for months to figure out, like, do I want to do this thing? Do I not want to do this thing? What's this thing about? Is this okay for me? Is it not? And I think this full moon is going to say, look, you've been on the fence for way too long. You've been standing still for way too long this year, trying to figure out what you need or what you want. You've been standing still this year, which has been very frustrating with Mars in the South Node. You know, and maybe we needed to stand still at the beginning of this year. Maybe we needed to feel frustrated, like we weren't moving forward, so that we could get to this point right now and know what to do. But this full moon is saying, now that you've been sitting with some stuff for a while on the fence, it's no longer time to sit on the fence anymore. You gotta make a decision, you gotta choose, you gotta own up to what you're meant to do in this life, you gotta face your destiny, and you gotta live your destiny, even if it's hard and even if it's scary. And the sun in an opposition with the moon, with Uranus, Venus nearby, is saying, you got to do whatever you can to reach your destiny. And if that means you got to shake things up and do things you've never done before, if that means you got to break free from old things in your life that were really stable and secure for you so that you can build just stability and security on something new and different, you got to do it. Either that or you're going to be stuck in your past. You're going to be stuck in old situations for a really, really long time. And now is the time to begin to embark on an entirely new journey, and to be okay with that and to not hold yourself back. You know, and each of these journeys are going to be very personal to us depending upon what part of our chart that they're in. But I think the journey that we're trying to get on board with, and I'm kind of backing into the full moon in Taurus. I didn't mean to do that because there's still a lot more I can say about the moon here. But I think what this full moon is saying is you got to choose to move forward or to stay in the past. And you should choose with the North Node to move forward, and you got to do whatever you can and rearrange whatever you can in your life to move in that direction. And the direction that you move in, this is the point I was trying to get to, is not going to be a public one. Like, if you think that you're going to change your life this month and then all of a sudden you're going to go straight to the top in your career, some of you may, but if you think all of a sudden you're going to go straight to the top of your career and you're going to earn the respect of a bunch of other people because now all of a sudden you changed your life and are reaching your destiny, that's not true. With the North Node in Leo and with the North Node about to move into Cancer very, very soon, which it changes signs of it every year and a half, and it has not been in Cancer for a really long time. With the North Node moving into Cancer, and the North Node, the last degree of Leo before it moves into Cancer, the first degree of Leo, which is the last degree before the North Node leaves it, that this is saying, look, if you're making changes in your life right now to be respected by other people, if you're making changes in your life right now to get the approval of other people, if you're making changes in your life right now because you want to fit in, you're doing it wrong. The changes in your life that this full moon is saying is you have to make changes in your life. You have to upset the balance, not only to move forward, but so that you can please yourself first and everyone else next, okay? You gotta start putting yourself first. You gotta put your own emotional needs first. You gotta put your own security first. You have to put your own safety first. And once you do that, everything else will start to fall into place and not the other way around. And it could feel lonely with the North Node in Leo. You could be the only one standing on the stage saying, hey, this is me, this is what I want. But you are going to have to learn to not focus on what everyone else wants, to not focus on what everyone else needs, to not focus on what you thought you wanted years ago or what everyone else told you you should want. This is the moment where you have to realize at the end of the day, when you go to bed every night and when you're laying on your deathbed, you are the only one you have to please and you are the only one you have to make happy, and you gotta go all in. You gotta first know what makes you happy, and once you know what makes you happy, you gotta commit to doing more of that and to bring bringing that out of you more and more and more, and to developing that, even if it's not as public of a journey as you want it to be. Like we're about to embark on, with the North Node leaving Leo and coming into Cancer, a super personal, emotional journey. And this is saying you got to shake up your life at this full moon so that you can become more personally and emotionally fulfilled and forget about what everyone else thinks that you should want, be, or need to be. Okay, so that's what's going on here. Now, the thing I probably should have talked about first is the moon, with the moon here being in Taurus. Sorry, I'm like junking up my chart again, so I will delete this. Now, the full moon, I'm going to start there with where the moon is, because the moon is what makes it a full moon. It moves the fastest, the faster moving of the planet, of the sun, out of the two. And the moon here in Taurus is saying, look, I know you got to shake up your life so that you can move towards your destiny and fulfill yourself. And the moon in Taurus is saying, this is why your own personal needs, you have to focus on your own personal needs first, especially with Uranus at the very beginning degrees of Taurus. I think I just synthesized things instead of breaking it down. All right. And the moon here at this degree of Taurus, because I looked up the inside degrees, the Sabian symbols, with Uranus here, is saying, who are you at your core? What makes you feel like you are in your own element? What makes you feel like you are right where you need to be? You are the person you always wanted to be. You are living in your true nature and letting that come out. What is that? What is that? And how can you be that? And how can you do that? And how can you express that with no shame? And how can you express that with no fear of the future? I think the moon, this full moon on Uranus, is saying, look, you got to do what you need to bring more of your true nature out into the open and to show it to other people, especially with the North Node in Leo, regardless of what everyone thinks. Now, the challenge of that is all of this stuff here in Scorpio. We've got 4 planets in Scorpio compared to these 2, although Uranus is a major influence, dragging things towards Taurus. And I think what's making this hard is we're trying to stand up for ourselves with the moon in Taurus. We're trying to own our own value, own our own self-worth, be comfortable and confident in who we are, build more stability into our life. And all of these planets in Scorpio are saying, but what about everyone else? Sure, you want what you want, I get it. Sure, you think you're good at whatever you think you're good at. Sure, you need more stability, more money in your bank account. But all these planets in Scorpio, I think, are having us deep down say, but what about other people? What is my true worth and what is my true value if other people don't recognize my worth, if other people don't recognize my value, if other people don't see the things that I see in myself? You know, if other people won't let me have the things that I feel like I'm good at. And so there's that kind of struggle that's saying, I want to have really close relationships with people. I want to have relationships with people that get me, but maybe people don't get me. Maybe people don't see the same thing that I now see that's come into my awareness about my own value and my own worth. And I think the challenge at this full moon is to figure out not only how to assert your true worth, so that you can make your own self happy and please yourself and feel more comfortable at night when you're going to bed alone and no one else is there for you, but is to also figure out how you can bring other people on board with you. Either how you can change your current relationships to be like, look, this is what I need and you're not doing it for me anymore. And so either you have to change or I have to change and get out of this, or for you to start to find your real people, your real group of people that you are meant to be with and need to be with and that understand you. And I think we're being torn between like, look, this is who I am now, but the other people in my life don't get it. And this full moon with Venus retrograde is saying you gotta let the other people in your life know your value. You have to let them know your worth. You have to let them see your true self, who you really are deep down, your inner heart, your essential nature. You have to let them see that, and you have to communicate about it with the Jupiter Mercury going on. You have to communicate about it, because if people don't know who you are and if you're not showing it to other people, then how can they accommodate you? They can't accommodate you. They have to let you know. And if you tell people who you really are and they don't like it, then why do you want them in your life to begin with? And I think this is the turning point in the year and in really your life that's breaking cycles that you had for years. You know, I mean, even, yeah, forever. Like, could be 8 years, because 8 years ago was when Uranus, 7, 8 years is when Uranus entered Aries. You know, could have been 4 or 5 years ago, the last time Saturn was in Scorpio, where these planets are. You know, and I think this is the turning point at this full moon, saying, look, you got to break old habits and patterns. You got to stand up for your worth. You have to stand up for your true nature, for what it is that you want, for what's going to make you personally happy, even if you have to stand up alone. And you need to go for it. You need to try to find a way to make other people understand and come along board with what you need and what you want. Okay? If other people don't like who you are and other people don't like what you have to say, that's fine. You don't need them. But don't hide your true gifts. Don't hide your true talents. Don't stay quiet because you're afraid. You must bring everything out in the open and speak your truth. And once you speak your truth, you're going to feel more free to live the life you really want. And people are going to realize either they're in your life or they're not in your life, or they need to get on board with your life and where you're going and need to come along. Okay? And that to me is what's going on. All right, I think if you can own your own gifts and talents and let people know what your worth is, how you define your worth, which is high, if you can let people know that, then other people will then, then I think it's just going to be easier for you. I think the trine over here to Saturn is going to help you start to commit to moving forward in a life direction that you feel much better about. Yeah, I think that's what I want to say. Other people may not like what you have to say. They may not like you standing up for yourself. But I think once you start to stand up for yourself, it's going to help you feel better about your life and where it's going. It's going to help you feel personally happy. And it's going to force a decision from other people to say, look, I'm with you or I'm not with you. This is going to work. This isn't going to work. And we got to figure this out. And to not be afraid of those kind of decisions or choices being made at this full moon, because I do think this full moon is going to pressure us and force us to make a lot of decisions that we've been on the fence for quite some time, that we cannot be on the fence for any longer. All right, the other thing I think I want to mention too, I'm going to talk a little bit more about Scorpio. I think what's been hard, you know, because maybe the question is, why haven't we asserted our value and our worth so far? Why haven't we done that? You know, why hasn't it been easier for us? Yeah, maybe that's a question I feel like some of you could be asking with the moon and Uranus here in Taurus. Why has it taken me so long to show my true nature? Why has it taken me so long to let my true soul show, to feel more authentic in my life, to be my authentic self, to be free to be who I am? And I think what's going on in Scorpio, excuse the car outside, is super, super interesting. All right, let me uncircle this. I don't know if me really drawing in the chart is going to help, since I'm going to talk a lot about the inside degrees and the Sabian symbols that come here with Scorpio. But what's been really interesting about the Sabian symbol and the inside degree for 1 degree Scorpio is that it talks a lot about darkness, about a collective darkness, being collectively in the dark as a group of people, as you as an individual, as all of us individuals living lives together. And I think it's been really interesting because we're trying to assert our own value. And Uranus to me is the great awakener. It's the ruler of the heavens. It's opening the heavens. It's bringing the light and the sky. And we've got this influence here in Scorpio, which is dark. It's heavy. You know, it talks about having hard times with the dark nights with the spirit and the soul when you get in Scorpio a lot of times. And I think what's going on here is that this alignment is saying the reason why you have not been able to assert your talents, the reason why you've not been able to own who you are authentically, is because there's been a lot of emotional stuff that we've been dealing with, trying to purge, trying to figure out. You know, there's been a lot going on in our life from the past maybe that isn't working for us, that we do or don't want, that's been hurting us, that we need to get to the bottom of, that we needed to deal with, and that we needed to transform before we could move on. And I really do believe that these planets here are saying, look, the reason why you couldn't be who you always wanted to be before this point is because there were other things that you had to deal with that were weighing on you emotionally. And sure, those things were hard, but now it's time for you to break free from them, to break through them. And the only way for you to do that now is to assert yourself and to assert who you are, and to be unashamed of everything that you have to offer. You know, there's one thing when I was looking up all this stuff online and looking at the charts that it reminded me of. I'm gonna share a phrase with you. I used to read some Carl Jung a few years ago when I first started getting into astrology, and there's a phrase in one of the books that he writes called enantiodromia. And basically this is what he coined, it's a term that happened since he was a psychologist, when, you know, it was such a super interesting phenomenon. He goes, sometimes, he goes, there are people that I help. This is the way I'm taking what I read in Carl Jung's book. He goes, and sometimes instead of leading people to the solution and telling my clients, this is what's wrong with you and this is what you need to be happy, he says, I go down rabbit holes with them. He says, I go more and more into the thing that hurts them. I go more and more into the thing that was wrong. He says, I go more and more into the wrong solution with them, and I overpile them with the wrong solution so that somewhere in that darkness, they realize that all this stuff that's not working is not working, and they have no choice but to go to the light. They have no choice but to do an about face and move in the other direction that they need to go in. And I almost feel like that to me speaks a lot about what's been happening the past few months with all this stuff going on, with all this stuff now stockpiled in Scorpio, which perhaps has a lot to do with the last time Saturn was in Scorpio, about what, 3-4 years ago. And I think when Saturn was in Scorpio until this point, it's been stockpiling all these really bad emotional experiences on us, or all these really heavy emotional experiences on us, where we've been trying to figure out, what do I really feel and what do I really want, and my life isn't working and I don't really feel quite right. Also that it could lead up to this moment in the astrology where it's saying, okay, my life has been so interesting the past few years so that you could decide today, at this full moon, where do you want to go from here? I've had enough. I have had enough. I can't do this anymore. I can't do the things I've always done. It's way too much. It's been very overwhelming. I have no choice but to turn a corner. I have no choice but to do things differently. I have no choice. Now that I've lost everything, or now that all the things I thought I wanted, I don't want anymore, I have no choice but to move in this other direction. And this other direction, believe it or not, is actually what I always wanted all along, and is actually what I always thought was better for me. And so to me, that is the message of this full moon. It's about time. You got to make choices that support your own best interests and allow you to be more confident and more secure in who you are as an individual, and to believe in yourself and to own your worth. And I think we've had a whole bunch of bad experiences being stockpiled on us the past few years, and maybe they weren't even bad. Maybe we just had a whole bunch of experiences that came to us that weren't quite what we wanted the past few years, so that we could finally get to this moment and say, no more. Not anymore. I no longer want that. I need this, and I need to go in this direction, even if I'm going to alienate myself from people, because it will make me personally happy. And I think we want other people on board. I think you need to try to work with other people and to communicate your desires to others. But if other people don't want to be with you after you show them your true heart, to not worry, because more people will be down the road and more people will come to meet you in the future once you own yourself, your own value, and your own desires first. All right? So that's what I'll leave you with there. Now for your card, I'll pull a card. I haven't done that for a while. I feel like I always forget. I'm going to use my new deck. I got a new deck. I think this is the one I'm going to start using for all my videos. Oh, should put my cup to the side. I like to change my cups out when I do my stuff, but check me out on horoscope.com. I do my daily videos there. But I'm going to pull a card for the full moon. I'm using the Moonchild Tarot deck. It's the deck that I want to start to use more often. What's going on this full moon? What's it about? Ooh, the Two of Cups. That's kind of interesting. I can see the Scorpio coming through, the Venus retrograde. The Two of Cups. Can you see this card? I'm hoping they'll show up. They're really pretty, the pastels. The Two of Cups, this to me is all about relationships. At this full moon, you know, the Two of Cups is actually a positive one for relationships. Despite Venus going retrograde opposite Uranus, which could bring breakups, To me, I think with this card is saying this is a chance in your life for you to form more authentic relationships and more authentic connections with people. Maybe that's the side to focus on. If you're feeling like relationships are hard for you at this full moon and right now in your life, this card isn't here to say, and this full moon isn't here to say, oh, well, your relationships are going to be hard and you're going to have to end some people and people don't get your worth. This card is saying this full moon is here to help you form the right relationships with new people that are going to get you, that are going to value you, that are going to appreciate you, and that are going to be super pivotal to helping you find the emotional comfort and peace in life that you've been missing, and to not see any of the things going on in your life right now as a setback, as a problem with relationships. This full moon is only full of potential to help you meet with the people, make long-term commitments, contracts, soul bonds with people that really can help you to serve your purpose, and where the two of you or many of you can work together to do what needs to be done, okay? It's not about breaking free from old people that don't get you, although that can happen. That can happen. You can break free from old people that don't get you, and you may have to stand alone. But the full moon is more about once you break free from these people and assert your own worth, you're going to create better relationships, more solid, more stable, more secure, with more understanding, based on a true love, based on a true feeling of appreciation, where people are no longer going to see you for how they want to see you, but they're going to see you for who it is you are, and they're going to love you for that and not try to make you into something else. So that's what I'll leave you with for today. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed it. If you did, please like it on YouTube, subscribe to my channel, share it with your friends, and I will talk to you later.